the Cleveland Browns, who made the playoffs in the 2023 season with an 11-6 record, came crashing back down though with a 3-14 record last year. Had the number 2 pick in the NFL draft. They traded back. They got Mason Graham out of it too. Dalton, you can see right there, the defense was still really good. We'll break that down in just a second. The offense was the worst in the NFL last year in terms of offensive grade and EPA per play. For this offseason, we gave the Browns a C+ for their draft and a C+ for free agency. So really a solid offseason all around for Cleveland. But Dawn, for a team that looked like it could struggle once again in 2025, but what is their one saving grace in this team right now?
Well, the one saving grace is that they gave Myles Garrett his $40 million a year, which having him alone makes you a darn near elite defensive line. He's the best defensive player in football.
He's the best player in football according to PFF 50.
Best player in football according to the PFF 50, which makes it even more astonishing that the Browns struggle as much as they do. But no, when you have Myles Garrett, when you now have top 5 pick Mason Graham on this defensive line, Isaiah McGuire's an emerging player, was a really good run defender last year. They added Malik Collins in free agency. I just think that's really, when you look at the Browns, what's the first problem when you're playing against them that you go to is, oh, this is a freakish defensive line led by a future Hall of Famer, right? And the 4-man rush that Jim Schwartz can throw at you, that's really the biggest problem, right? Any given matchup, they can surprise a team and win, because if you let this pass rush get going, you get in a tight game in the fourth quarter against them, Myles Garrett's going to work through even the double and triple teams. And I'm really excited to see especially Mason Graham this year. We're going to talk more about him, but I think he's going to have a whole lot of one-on-ones on the inside to work with. This D-line is what gives the Browns a chance to win games.
Yep.
That's the facts of it. They need to play elite defense. It starts up front with them with their 4-man rush.
They have, according to us, the top 10 defensive line in the NFL. Myles Garrett's the best player in the NFL in our opinion, and Mason Graham is a top 5 pick. I thought he was, you said it last year, you thought Joe Alt was the safest pick in the draft. I think that applies to Mason Graham in that draft too.
And it's the two-dimensional factor with Graham, where it's run defense and as a pass rusher. He was clearly the best defensive tackle in college football the last 2 years. So adding him to this unit only makes him more fearsome.
Put him next to Myles Garrett, honestly. Get him some one-on-ones against guards or centers, and Mason Graham should have a great rookie year. Could contend, honestly, for defensive rookie of the year if he's has a lot of one-on-ones next year. Question mark is quarterback right now, because the Browns, I think for the first time I've ever seen in NFL history, have a 4-man battle for quarterback. You usually see 2 guys competing for the starting job. You never see 4 guys competing for the starting job right now. They have Joe Flacco, who's 40 years old, won comeback player of the year a couple years ago in Cleveland. You have Kenny Pickett, who flamed out in Pittsburgh, was the backup for the Eagles after being a first-round pick for the Steelers. And now you have 2 rookies in Dylan Gabriel, who's your 3rd-round pick, and then a guy who you and I thought was a first-round caliber prospect in Shedeur Sanders, who was your 5th-round pick. Joe Flacco is most likely going to be the week 1 starter, but we could see all 4 of these guys this year. So, listen, the quarterback spotlight, talk about Joe Flacco because we think he's going to start week 1. But I want you to talk to me about all 4 of these guys and what could they potentially bring to this offense.
I mean, hold up now. You got 2. Don't forget 2 Super Bowl champions in Joe Flacco.
That's true.
Pickett also.
That's
but
true.
I mean, just the most lightning rod quarterback situation that we're going to have throughout this preseason. We're likely to see all 4 of these guys. Obviously, Flacco is familiar with the system, having brought the Browns to the playoffs 2 years ago. And we'll start with him. Look, 40 years old, played some decent football with the Colts again last year, but he hasn't had more than 300 dropbacks, I believe, since 2018 in a season. So when you're talking about that, you go, okay, are we really expecting Joe Flacco to start all 17 games? Probably not. He's 40 years old. He never moved much anyway, but especially now, and that shows when you look at a 35 passing grade under pressure last year that was the 6th worst in football. When he's back there and he's clean, he still has enough arm to make most of the throws on the field, right? He's always had a very good arm, and he still has it at 40 years old. It's just a matter of, can they protect him? Right? Kenny Pickett, obviously, like you mentioned, flamed out in Pittsburgh, didn't get a whole lot of action last year in Philadelphia, at times has, struggles to throw the ball down the field. Then you have Dylan Gabriel, who throughout, he was in college forever, always really good between the 20s, struggles with red zone work, played in some very college-ish offenses. And then you have, of course, the lightning rod of all of them, Shedeur Sanders, the son of Deion Sanders, had 2 great years at Colorado, very accurate, Trevor Sikkema comped him to, say, a Teddy Bridgewater. Doesn't have elite arm strength. We'll see if he can throw through the cold weather and all of that, but he is accurate. He sees the field like an NFL quarterback. It's just a matter of if he's going to get the opportunity. So you've got this weird four-man race. We're going to see all these guys in the preseason. You're right, it's probably going to start with Flacco as the veteran and as the one guy who's familiar with Kevin Stefanski, but we have less clarity after all the Deshaun Watson situation. We have less clarity on the Browns quarterback situation than ever. And the problem for any of them is you go back and look at our unit rankings. We have their running back unit 29th, and that ranking was done assuming Quinshaw Judkins would be on the field, which he's the lone draft pick, not signed yet, and he's got some off-field issues. They have the last-ranked pass-catching core, their receivers and tight ends, and they have the 27th ranked offensive line, and they had a lot of injury issues, and I believe DeJuan Jones already has an injury issue early in training camp. So you're looking at a set of quarterbacks that we have no clarity on, and not a particularly great supporting cast either. For as much as we like this defense, the offense is what holds them back, and the quarterback situation especially.
Yeah, I have a lot of question marks with that quarterback room right now. Are they going to carry all four in the season?
It would be. I would think if you're carrying all four, unless one is hurt, you have to practice squad one of the quarterbacks, I believe. Which I don't remember for a rookie if that exposes him to waivers or not. But I believe. I mean,
that'd be interesting.
The way roster construction is, because you can have a third emergency quarterback that doesn't count towards your game day 46, but I think a fourth one would have to be on the practice squad.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what they do with that situation this year. But, I mean, listen, it's ironic. The one that you and I think, are most excited about was their fifth-round rookie, not the third-round rookie or even the two veterans they have right now, too. It's just a wild situation.
Day three of the draft was a fun time, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was certainly a fun one.
So we'll see. I think we're going to see all four of these guys in 2025, which, again, I've never seen a four-man battle at quarterback in the NFL or even in college football before either. Offensive player spotlight, even though it's the last-ranked receiving core in the NFL, they still have a pretty good receiver leading it in Jerry Jeudy. He had 142 targets last year in that offense, the seventh most in the NFL, had a 74.9 receiving grade, which is the second-best mark of his career, too. And against his former team, the Denver Broncos, he went off against them. 235 yards in that Week 13 game against his former team in the Denver Broncos. And like you said, Dalton, they don't have a lot of proven pass catchers available to them right now. So Jerry Jeudy should once again get a lot of targets next year from whoever's playing quarterback for the Browns.
Yeah, he's the one wide receiver that we know will always be on the field, right? There's Deontay Johnson, there's Cedric Tillman, there's Jamari Thrash, there's a whole lot of unproven, not that Johnson's unproven on the field, but there's a lot of other stuff that goes into that. And then you have two solid tight ends, I think, in David Njoku and Harold Fannin Jr. I think could really make a nice 12 personnel package for him. But you look at Jeudy and the volume that he got last year, and you go, there's really no reason, no matter who the quarterback is, that Jeudy shouldn't be the top target again.
Definitely. But the top player, not only on the Cleveland Browns, but in the entire NFL, is on that defense and Myles Garrett.
I mean, think of it this way first. Imagine having a contract dispute with Myles Garrett and thinking, oh, maybe this guy isn't worth top dollar. I don't really understand that part of it, but they got it done. He's well worth every dollar of the $40 million. I think it's a special look. It's his entire career. He's not even 30 years old yet till December.
That's insane.
He could retire tomorrow and make the Hall of Fame. He's not even 30 years old yet until December. And you talk about especially the last 4 years, what he's done. 95.3 PFF grade is the best among all defensive players by 1.5 points. I mean, clearly the best defensive player in football, solid run defender, one of the great pass rushers we've ever seen, not even 30 years old yet, and he's got over 100 sacks for his career. He's not just one of the best players right now, and he showed that by leading the league in pass rush grade and pass rush win rate if you tune up the minimum to 200 pass rush reps, because Aiden Hutchinson was having an all-time great year also. But of the guys that really played the whole season, Garrett was still clearly the best pass rusher. This is just one of the greatest edge rushers of all time.
Yes.
That's not really in question, and he has a chance, if he keeps up the pace that he's been on for another, say, 4 or 5 years, to really maybe be a guy that challenges the all-time sack record when you get up near that 200 number. I mean, it is just absolutely ridiculous how good Myles Garrett is and how much he could single-handedly carry a defense some weeks. I mean, there are weeks where you go, wow, why did the Browns win this week? And you just go, number 95. He was just unblockable, and he's unblockable most weeks.
He has 102.5 sacks so far in his 8-year career. So another 7. I know it would be a lot to say he's going to be this good for another 7 years, but like he's already halfway there to the sack record.
If you get him on that pace for another 5, let's say, and who knows, maybe he's liable any year that he could have 18 to 20. But let's just say you're talking about 12 to 13 sacks a year. You do it for another 5, you're in that 170 range, and you start talking. And pass rushers, it seems like some of them are aging better than ever.
Yeah. It's pretty insane. He's got, He's got 60 sacks over the last 4 years so far. So he's averaging an incredible amount of sacks right now.
It's unbelievable.
So, yeah, he's the best player in the NFL in the PFF 50. A guy that we are a big fan of here, too, Mason Graham, is their rookie to watch this year. So, yes, the Browns did trade out from getting Travis Hunter at number 2 overall. And Dalton and I, when that happened on draft night, we were like, oh, I wouldn't give up Travis Hunter. But you got an extra first-round pick. And you got a guy in Mason Graham who is an excellent D tackle prospect, one of the best D tackle prospects we've had in recent memory. Mason Graham led all D tackles in the country last year in overall grade and run defense grade. Over his 3 years at Michigan, he was the highest graded defensive tackle in college football. Like I said before, great run defender, outstanding pass rusher too. I think he will be a top 10 defensive tackle in the NFL very, very soon. Could even be higher than that, honestly, too. Mason Graham, like I said, Dalton, it feels like a can't-miss prospect.
I absolutely agree. I thought he was arguably the safest pick in this entire draft class. And you look at even the way in pass rush situations that he can move around. You talk about creating one-on-one matchups because Myles Garrett demands 2 and 3 and 4 blockers in his direction. And the way Graham can move around almost in that Chris Jones type of fashion where you can put him out on the edge. We've seen him stand up at 320 pounds and rush the passer. You can stun him all over the place. He's a really good athlete. And to me, if there was a concern about, okay, he's got a little bit shorter arms, how can he handle double teams and take that on? I don't think he's going to see that many because you've got Myles Garrett. So if you want to double Mason Graham over Myles Garrett, if I'm the Browns, be my guest because there's nobody one-on-one that can contain Garrett for an entire game like that.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned before, Myles Garrett, all those numbers right there. Now you have a guy and Mason Graham who could take up some double teams too. Like all of a sudden, Myles Garrett could be getting some one-on-ones too, and then his numbers can even go higher than that.
Yeah, I mean, you start talking about a stacked defensive line complementing each other, and even we got to talk about too the fact that he led the nation in run defense grade last year. It's a big factor in this also because then it's also some teams try to neutralize a great pass rush by running the football a lot. Well, it's going to be hard to do that with Mason Graham in the backfield making plays.
The Browns had the best run defense grade in the NFL last year and the 3rd best pass rush grade, and now you add Mason Graham to that unit. This could be the best defensive line in football very soon.
Absolutely.
It could be. Yeah, I can't wait to watch Mason Graham as a rookie there in Cleveland. The best bet for the Browns this year, unfortunately, is not as optimistic as the other two that we just went over. The best bet is to be the last winless team in the NFL at plus 400, which you get right now on ESPN Bet. Really, Dawn, you look at that schedule. Their season starts off home against Cincinnati, at Baltimore, Green Bay, at Detroit, Minnesota, at Pittsburgh, Miami, at New England. It could be a tough year for Cleveland. We think they're probably going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL once again. And with that brutal first half of the season, that they could be the last winless team remaining.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to maybe do some schedule comping when it comes to maybe the Tennessee Titans, the New Orleans Saints, maybe the New York Giants. But, I mean, you talk about a team that, especially in all of those matchups, you're at a significant quarterback disadvantage every single week. That's the first thing you look at, obviously, is you go, okay, who are the two quarterbacks playing? And they're running out Flacco or Pickett or one of the rookies, right? So that's the first problem. And you just look in general at this offense and you go, where's it coming from? Where are the points coming from, right? They were already, among the lowest graded offenses last year, last in EPA per play, like you mentioned. So, and even where we thought they might have added some stability in the run game, we don't currently know what Quinshon Judkins' situation is either. So now, I mean, you still have Jerome Ford, you have Dylan Sampson, but Judkins was really supposed to be the face of that. So now the running game is called into question. We know Kevin Stefanski likes to run the ball. So I think that's the biggest thing about it is especially in those first 6 games, and the quality of teams that they have to play. Maybe, look, they always give Cincinnati problems because of Cincinnati's pass protection and Myles Garrett and all of that. But even last year, I believe we saw the Bengals beat them in the second game. I think it was 17-3. I mean, Joe Burrow can find enough points, and the Browns always give the Bengals issues. But if they don't win week 1, you mentioned it, Ravens, Packers, Lions, Vikings, Steelers, how are they going to score? Right? I mean, that's what you look at with the Browns any given week. You go, okay, how are they going to score even 20 points
Yeah.
and win a game 20-17 or something like that. So I get it. I absolutely get the bet, especially at plus 400. That is a solid one because you just go, they're not favored in any of those games because of their offense.
Yeah, that first one, the Miami game, is the 7th game of the year. So, I mean, there's a very good chance they could start off 0-6 and even lose to Miami and New England. After that, you could start off 0-8, honestly. So, I could see.
Even a team like New England and the way that we like their defense, how are they going to score in New England against that defense with all the pieces they've added?
Definitely.
That's a problem.
It's unfortunate for the Browns, but it could be another rough year in 2025 to try to figure out what to do on offense. So, really, Dylan, the bottom line for this team, do you think it's going to be another brutal year for the Browns, or are they going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL once again?
I mean, it's just so hard to project them to win a lot of games with the offense, right? I mean, that's where, and it's great to have their defense, but even their defense, I have questions on because all of a sudden you had a struggling cornerback room last year, and Martin Emerson's now out for the year with a torn Achilles. Jordan Hicks, who I thought was their best linebacker last year, the veteran leader in their linebacker room, he just retired. So now you're looking at
and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is battling injuries
and he's
too.
not he's not going to play this year either. So you're now a lot thinner at line. Basically, your linebackers now are Devin Bush, who did have a good year last year, but that was the first time he's looked like that, and Carson Schwessinger. If I had Jordan Hicks in the middle there with them, then I'm looking at it a little bit differently. But with him retired and with Emerson out and the lack of depth at corner, I'm a little worried about the back seven, the entire back seven now, right? Because Schwessinger, he only started 1 year at UCLA, and he's very good. He's a very good athlete, but there's not a whole lot of experience there either. I would have liked him to get acclimated a little bit slower. So the D-line is great, but there's questions throughout the rest of this team, and it's hard not to project them to be pretty clearly in last place in this division.
Listen, Mason Graham is used to winning games in Ohio with just a D-line. He did it last year against Ohio State, which is literally the Michigan defensive line was the only reason why they won that football game. So maybe the Browns defensive line can do it this year too.
It's hard to win.
It's harder in the NFL,
hard to win 13-10 in the NFL every single week, right? I mean, you can do it once a year against Ohio State, maybe, but I mean, now you're talking about when you're talking about having to play Joe Burrow twice, Lamar Jackson twice, Aaron Rodgers twice, everybody else, Jared Goff, and everybody else we mentioned on that schedule. I mean, look, if you can find ways to win games 13-10 every week, cool, but it's harder and harder to do that.
Feels like they're going to try to do that next year with that defensive line, but I don't know how feasible
and then we get into all of the Arch Manning conspiracy theories, right? Is that what we're is that the next step
talking
here?
about it? Yeah, they're talking about it. So we'll see what happens with them, but yeah, it does feel like the Browns will be in the quarterback sweepstakes next year for the 2026 NFL draft. I think their win total is set right around like 4.5. Right now in most sports books. I think it's going to be another tough year for the Browns. We have them at 5.5 right now on PFF.com, so it could be a tough year. They'll probably be a little bit better than 3-14 like they were last year, but I don't know how much better. I don't think this will probably be a playoff contender next year.
It's when you have that, again, you just look back at their units and you go, even Jerry Jeudy, a guy who had a solid year last year, 74 receiving grade. That's probably your best offensive player.
Yeah, I like him more as a number 2 receiver than a number 1 receiver.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I like the pair of tight ends. I do. The quarterback situation being what it is, I do like their draft class. It's something they can build on, especially if Judkins can figure out his off-field problems. But the lack of clarity on, and not to mention, it's a stat I've mentioned in every other episode talking about the Browns. 4 of their 5 offensive linemen are going to be 30 years old this season on opening day,
and they're declining.
And you can tell they're declining. And the one young guy that was going to play, DeJuan Jones, is already hurt. Yeah. So it's the offensive line. It's Flacco under pressure, or it's Kenny Pickett under pressure, or Dylan Gabriel, or even Shedeur Sanders under pressure. He's not the most dynamically athletic quarterback. So it's the offense. There's a lot of issues with this offense, and it's become a long-term project.